We're going to be selling a nice high quality farm today, and we're going to be selling it in 2 tracts. We've done as much research as we can into the acreage figures, and you guys know, if you've watched our website, the acreage figures have changed a little bit a couple of different times, kind of depending on who we were talking to. But I believe that we've gotten that down to where it's as accurate as it's going to be. I mean, we've talked to everybody we possibly can. There was an issue with the acreage because the 3 of the neighboring parcels, and I say 3 parcels because in the assessor's records it's 3 parcels, were combined with the FSA record of that western half. We did adjust that number yesterday for the final time to arrive at the bid multiplier that we're going to use today for that tract. I believe up until yesterday we had 64.7, but we adjusted it down to 64.62 is the correct number for that. The other tract, the larger tract, or the bigger tract, tract 1, we are going to use 80 acres on that, 79 tillable acres. So that one's pretty straightforward. There's not too much complex about that. I'm going to read you our legal information here. Immediately upon conclusion of the auction, the high bidders will enter into a real estate contract and deposit with Dream Dirt Farm and Ranch Real Estate, LLC, the proper non-refundable earnest deposit. The seller will provide a current abstract at their own expense. The sale is not contingent upon buyer financing, and all bids are cash bids. The sale is subject to all easements, covenants and leases, and restrictions of record. Buyers must do their due diligence prior to bidding. All property is sold as is, where is, basis, with no warranties or guarantees expressed or implied, made by the auctioneer or the seller unless specifically stated. The seller reserves the right to accept or reject any bids. Dream Dirt Farm and Ranch Real Estate and its representatives are agents of the seller. The winning bidder acknowledges that they are representing themselves in completing the auction sale transaction. Any announcements made on auction day take precedence over the previous material. Get to page 2. Bid increments will be at the sole discretion of the auctioneer, and the auctioneer may accept internet bids, absentee bids, phone bids, or from bidders who cannot attend the auction. We don't have anybody to bid on the phone today. Nobody's called us and said they couldn't do that. So the tract 1 information, I went through that a little bit, but here's what we're going to use today. This is what we've arrived at after the last month of going through those things. The assessor's record says there's 80 acres, and we believe that's 79 tillable. Because we're taking an entire farm that has not been reconstituted by FSA at this point, that's a guess on our point, and I think that probably 99% of the room probably would agree with me that there's 1 acre out for the road on the south side of that thing, and it should be 79 acres. But again, I'm telling you that so that I'm being completely open. I'm not using an official number there. That is based on my experience and what I know. I believe that's what's there, 79 acres. That is on the eastern half of the farm. The legal description is the northeast quarter and the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 34, Plymouth Township, Plymouth County, Iowa. Tract 2, the information that we believe to be correct, based on the assessor's records, there's 66.12 acres total. We believe that 64.62 are tillable. That is going to be the western parcels of the farm, or tract 2, which is going to be part of the southwest quarter and the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter of section 34, Plymouth Township, Plymouth County, Iowa. The CSR on tract 1 is 86, the CSR2, excuse me. The CSR2 on tract 1 is 86, and the CSR2 of tract 2 is 83.7. Today, bids are going to be based on a multiplier, and those multipliers that we're going to use for tract 1 is going to be 79. So that is going to be the tillable acres is what we're going to bid on today. And on tract 2, 64.62. So we're going to be bidding on tillable acres. I want to make sure that everybody understands that. You're not buying the road or anything else. We're bidding strictly on the income producing acres. Our sale method today is going to be tract 1, tract 2. You guys have been to a lot of auctions in your life. You guys are all auction-centric people. You understand how to buy at auction. But here's something that we see happen in auctions. People will get used to something they've seen for years and years and years, and then they'll come to our auction and they'll apply the rules of that auction to our auction. So here's how we're going to do things. We're going to sell track 1 and track 2. We have no intention of taking a break. You guys can request a break if you should need something. I'm not going to turn you down if you guys for some reason need to have a break, but we have no intention of taking a break. We're moving straight through. So when track 1 is done, there's no going back to it and placing additional bids. There will not be any type of combination bidding at any time. We're going to do track 1, track 2, and then we'll make the announcement for sold after both of them. So when it's done, it's just going straight through. Every once in a while, we'll have a little trouble, won't we, Tom? Somebody doesn't believe us, or they say, come back and say, well, geez, I thought I was going to get another chance to bid on that. I really mean, we're moving straight through. We have no intention of taking any sort of a break. You guys, if you want a break, you can ask us for one, and we'll give you one, but we don't have any intention of doing that. So just so everybody knows, that's how it's going to happen. When track 1 is done, it's done. And they will not be combined at any time. Now, as far as survey information, let's talk about that. If we separate the tracks and there's 2 buyers, the seller, at the seller's expense, will mark the line between the 2 tracks. They won't put in a fence, but they will have that line surveyed and marked on both poles, or both ends of poles. If the same person buys both tracks, then the seller will not do that survey work. There won't be any reason to do that. So it's only going to happen if 2 people do it, and it will be at the seller's expense. There is a 2% buyer fee today. So if you're the successful bidder, your bid will be an additional 2% above that. That's the way we operate. That's the way we do things. I understand not everybody likes that. Cody over here says you might be able to write that off on your taxes, and I've heard that in a lot of other places too. That it's an expense against buying something, an expense against the transaction. That's up to you guys. I'm not giving any legal or tax advice. That's up to you guys to figure out. But that is on the sale today. So when you bid, you're going to pay 102% of your bid. Possession is going to be at closing as a landlord's possession. The seller will serve a tenancy termination as a part of the closing that will become effective March 1, 2018. As a buyer of either parcel, you will receive a cash rent credit at closing for the acres you purchased. Will be based upon the multiplier that we use today. So if you buy tract 1, it's 80 times $300, and you'll get that as a cash rent credit at the closing. So you're going to get it all up front. The seller will collect the final rent payment in the fall on September that is due. So that cash rent payment is going to go to the seller. You're going to get all of the cash rent credit up front, which essentially is a discount off of your bid. We believe the closing will be held 30 to 60 days following the auction, and Mr. Brock up in Lahrs will be the attorney for the seller. I visited with him again yesterday. He believes that that is an easy target. He believes that we can. We're shooting for 30 days, but I'm saving that kind of little bit of a gap in there, that if there's any trust work or estate work that might come up that hold things up a little bit, it could. But so we're aiming for 30 to 60 days right now. We're going to shoot for 30 and hold up to 60 if we need to. All of the property taxes are going to be prorated to the date of closing. If you have any questions, you can always summon the attention of any of our ringmen on the floor anytime. Now, as far as survey information, let's talk about that. If we separate the tracks and there's 2 buyers, the seller, at the seller's expense, will mark the line between the 2 tracks. They won't put in a fence, but they will have that line surveyed and marked on both poles, or both ends with poles. If the same person buys both tracks, then the seller will not do that survey work. There won't be any reason to do that. So it's only going to happen if 2 people do it, and it will be at the seller's expense. All of the property taxes are going to be prorated to the date of closing. If you have any questions, you can always summon the attention of any of our ringmen on the floor, and they will help you out and answer any of your questions.
On table to behind there, auctions on. Hit table to behind table to behind table to 10,000. Let's roll. Hit 10 table to 10 to 10 table to 10 pound table to 10 fire table to 10 to 10 table to 10 here. Hit 10 pound table to 10 to 10 table to 10 pound table to 10 table to 10. Hit 10. Did you do it? On 10 table to 9's on table to 10 table to 9's on 10. Hit 10 table to 11 table to 11 table to 11 here. 11 12 table to 12 13 table to 13 13 table to 13. Hit 13 table to 13 13 13. I'm 12 here 13 table to 13,000. Hit 13 pound table to 13 pound table to 13 where? Hit 13 table to 13 13 table to 13. Hit 13 no breaks guys unless you want it. 13 14 and 14 table to 14. 14 pound table to 14 table to 14. 14 pound table to 14 13 table to 14 table to 14 where? Hit 14 table to 14 table to 14 13 5. That help you? A 13 5. A 13 5 table to 5. A 13 5 table to 5. The 5 you would have 13 5. You want to do that? A 13 5 table to 5. A 13 5 table to 5 5 5 table to 13 5. Hit 13 5 table to 5. I'm 13,000 guys, no mistake. Ask him 13 5. No breaks, guys. 13-5. Hit 13-5 able to 5. A 13-5 able to 5. The 5 able to 13-5 able to 5. Hit 13,500. A 13-5 able to 13-5 able to 13. 250. You want to do that? Now 5. 13-5. 13-5. 13-5. A 13-5 able to 5 able to 13-5. Hit 13-5 able to 5 able to 13-5 over done. Hit 13-5 able to 5 able to 13-5. Hit 13-5 able to 5 the 5 able to 13-5 and a half here. A 13-5 able to 5. A 13-5 able to 5 the 5 able to 13-5. 13,750 sir. Track 2. Track 2. On table to 5 here we go. Down table to 10 pound where? Hit 10 table to 10 to table to 10 table to 10 10 10 money down now 11. 11 down table to 11 table to 11 here. 11 here now 10. Chad's got 10. We got to be 11. And now 11 here. And now 11 table to 11 to 11 by table to 11,000. 11 table to 11 table to 11 12. And now 12 table to 12 here. 12 13 table to 13 13 13 table to 13 14 and 14 table to 14 table to